committee meeting for the month of April. Call this meeting to order at 1:05. God, I hate to be running late. That's European style. Let's get back to Cherokee time. So call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask our guest, DJ McCarter, to bless the meal. The meeting, not the meal. We've already eaten.
Let's go to the Lord in prayer, okay? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for who you are and what you are in our lives, and the way that you've provided for each and every one of us, and the things that you brought into our path. We thank you for the virus. We thank you for the medicine that you've provided. And Lord, as this committee gets together to do the business of our nation, Lord, all we can ask from you is that your wisdom, and only your wisdom, be at work in their hearts and minds, Lord. So we're just going to turn everything over to you and let you have your way in everything. Lord, we're going to be careful. All that we say and do will be to glorify your name. In your name I pray. Amen.
Although, DJ, at this time I would entertain approval of the minutes.
Wait, roll call.
Oh, roll call. Shelley?
Joe Bird.
Ani?
Kanan Duncan.
Ani.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates. Sean Crittenden.
Here.
Joe Deere. Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Rex Jordan.
Here.
Darrell Legg.
Here.
Wes Snowfire. Dora Petzkowski. Mike Shambaugh. Mary Bakershaw.
Ani.
E.O. Smith.
Here.
Janice Taylor. Victoria Vasquez. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. And when we get to the agenda items, if we would, I'd like to move the naming of the facility front so we could DJ on his way. If you guys don't mind, just change the agenda there. Okay, appreciate it. At this time, we will go to reports. Keep Julia Coates and her family in prayer, if you would, please. Her father was passing. That's why she's not here. So keep her family in mind. So at this time, we will have Marshal Shannon Buell. Been a very busy person, I know, in the past 30 days. Marshal, you're up.
Good afternoon. Besides the monthly report that I present, we've had a busy time since McGirt. I had my staff pull the last 11 days of just major cases that we've been assigned, just to kind of give you an example of what us and the Attorney General's office is dealing with. So the past 11 days, we've been assigned to 2 homicides, assault and battery with a deadly weapon, shooting with intent, home invasion, a standoff with warrant service, a drive-by shooting, 2 child abuse cases, 1 child neglect case, a stolen vehicle with a county officer-involved shooting, assault and battery on a security officer, prisoner escape, and assault on a police officer, and a child sexual abuse. That is our new life at the Marshal Service. I wish I could be happy about all those cases, but I'm not. But we will do our due diligence to make sure that we will work every one of the cases that we receive and make it a top priority to make sure that justice is served in all these cases. I'm concerned on some of the Facebook posts that I've seen. I try not to comment on Facebook. It's just not a good practice for a sane person to comment on social media, so I don't. But there's a Facebook post going around talking about a cross-deputization with Oklahoma Highway Patrol. And how the Facebook post reads, it sounds to me like the chief subvertently cross-deputed with Oklahoma Highway Patrol. That could not be further from the truth. Our cross-dep at the Cherokee Nation was signed with the state of Oklahoma and Wilma Mankiller when she was chief. 1992 was when that cross-dep was signed. Once that cross-dep is signed, you can't fix that deputization. It goes on forever. What we can do is we can do what's called an amendment appendix to that cross-dep. So let's say the city of Tahlequah wants to cross with us. We send them an appendix, what's called a city appendix. They sign it. We attach that to the original cross-dep, and that's stored at the Oklahoma City at the state Secretary of State's office. By Constitution, the marshal is the person that's approved to deputize marshals within the Cherokee Nation. So what I would do in this cross-step is I am deputizing Tahlequah PD and their officers to work as a Cherokee marshal. That's how that cross-step works. And in turn, that police chief of Tahlequah Police is making me a Tahlequah police officer or marshals. So what happens before McGirt, if we're in the city of Tahlequah, not on Indian country, we were working as a Tahlequah officer. If a Tahlequah officer was on Indian country, they were working as a Cherokee marshal, if that makes sense. So with McGirt, we have over 70 cross-deputation agreements with federal agencies, state agencies, county agencies, and municipalities. One of those is Oklahoma Highway Patrol. We crossed with them end of February. And what that meant was I put an addendum or appendix to this cross-step that was signed by Wilma Mankiller in 1992. And it was what we refer to as a state appendix. So we send that to the commissioner of OHP. He looks, their legal team look at that. They sign it, they send it back to us, and we take that to Oklahoma City. So it is not a new cross-deputization that we're signing. It would be, quite frankly, it wouldn't work because it's a three-party cross between the BIA, the state of Oklahoma, and us. So I can't just make new cross-deps. So that has been the precedence, quite frankly, under Wilma's administration, under Joe's administration, under Chad's administration, under Bill John's administration, now under the chief's administration. That's the process that we do. Some people on Facebook, I guess, don't understand that process and believe that the chief is making underground negotiations with state offices, and that I'm not a political guy. Those of you who know me know I'm not, but I want to speak the truth, and it's the truth. If there's somebody to ask or to blame or to point fingers at, as far as cross-dep agreements, that would be me. It would not be the chief. It would not be the attorney general. It would not be the council here. I'm the sole person responsible for deputizing tribal police officers. So with that, I'm sorry to bring that up, but I just want everybody to kind of have an understanding of that cross-step, where it came from, and why we kind of do that. So if anybody has any questions on that, I am more than happy to answer them.
Any questions for our marshal? Back in the early 90s, when Gary Chapman was the chair of finance, and he brought up some issues here at the city. I think the city of Tahlequah was really the model for the cross-deputization, because it wasn't unusual to have our county sheriff in Cherokee County be a Cherokee citizen and the chief of police to be a Cherokee citizen, and I think that's correct. So having done that, having a good relationship and good rapport with the local officers here, then Wilma being our chief, that was really a good model. Before then, there were confusions when there were arrests made out there on restricted land. You had to make a phone call and say, whose property are we on? A lot of misunderstanding, a lot of confusion, and I think this cross-deputization is really a simple way of just saying working together. That's what we're doing. The more enforcers out there that's in unison, the more we're going to protect our people, and that's the way I see it.
Well, Speaker, last Tuesday, not this one, but the Tuesday before, my investigators hand-signed for over 200 criminal cases that the Eastern Federal District declined to prosecute, that's now coming to the tribe to prosecute. These are staggering numbers of criminal cases across our 14 counties. There's no way that we could do the job that you need us to do out there if it was only my 29 officers. There's no way that could happen. You approved my budget increase in January. I've hired 9 of the 12 new officers. They're over at my office right now reading policy and getting ready to go to the Federal Academy in July. That's when they start their academy. Even with those 9 new hires, there's still no way that we could do what we need to do to protect every citizen in our reservation without these cross-deputizations. They are, quite frankly, the lifeblood of protecting our own citizens. The 2 homicides and the aggravated assault battery with a deadly weapon all happened within 2 hours, one day. That stretches my resources beyond imagine, if you can think about that. It is our partnership, in this case, it's our partnership with Stillwell Police Department and Adair County Sheriff's Office, along with the FBI, on these cases that allow us to be able to prosecute these cases, whether it's in tribal court or in federal court. So I want to be very clear that these are not light issues that me and my staff are dealing with. These are serious issues that have serious consequences. We have tribal family out there being hurt. We have family members of victims out there that call me daily asking for help, and we will run until we're blue in the face to help our citizens. So this is a needed thing for us. I can tell you, cross-dep, in my opinion, has never been political. I will try my best to never make it political. It's a job that we have to do. I'm proud to do it, and I hope to do it for many more years, as long as I can walk up some stairs. But we're here for you. We're here for our people, and I'm proud of that every day I go to work. So thank you.
I have a question from Councilor Duncan.
Hey, Marshal, I just wanted to express my gratitude to you and all the Marshal service. Right when McGirt came down, or before it actually came down, I had people that would stop me or get calls from city and town and county police departments of, this was going to be the end of the world, and you guys have hit it in stride and just taken care of business, which isn't a surprise to most of us here on this body, but I thank you for that. And as far as cross-deputization goes, I think everybody is a lot more comfortable in Adair County knowing that you guys are on the case of what just happened this week. And I know the law enforcement there in our county is appreciative of it as well, because it makes their job a lot easier. So it's just, as in everything, it's good people partnering with good people, and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
Councilor Deere.
Hey, Marshal, while you're clarifying stuff on the cross-deputization for people watching, will you explain to them why you do the cross-deputization? You know what's coming with the Creek and the Osage and different people. Can you go ahead and explain that?
Yeah, so any border counties that we have in eastern Oklahoma, that would be, let's say, Muskogee County. We border with the Creek Nation, right just east of downtown Muskogee. We've been crossed with the city of Muskogee for going on probably 15 years. So before McGirt happened, or Hobbs, or whatever that case you want to point to, before that happened, we could go and help Muskogee PD in downtown Muskogee with crimes because it was state. So we crossed with Muskogee, it was state. Now with McGirt, I can't help a neighbor, city of Muskogee, that we've been crossed with for 14 or 15 years. I can't help them now on the other side of that divide, which is Creek Nation, because my cross-deputization with the city does not extend into another reservation. So we're currently establishing cross-deps between any tribe that we border with. So if you can kind of imagine Muskogee, we're going to cross with Muskogee Creek. It allows my marshals to still use their cross-step with Muskogee Police Department to go across that line and into downtown Muskogee to help them out, and vice versa. Same with North Tulsa. We're going to need to partner with those tribes that are connected with us, if that makes sense. Does that clarify what that is? So, yeah, we have state cross-deputizations. We're now developing tribal cross-deputizations to allow the fluid integration of law enforcement in those border communities. So that does not, however, mean that Creek Nation Light Horse will be in Tahlequah. We're only going to cross for those border communities, if that makes sense. So.
Yep. Marshal, I appreciate the decisions you've been making as of late. And I want to tell you and your staff, thank you for always answering your phone and getting back with me. Over the years, I've called you with people I knew that you didn't know, people we both didn't know, people you may have known I didn't know, and it's always been consistent. Last night, I called you with somebody dear to my heart. You and your staff, mission accomplished.
Thank you.
And as a Cherokee person, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Counselor Buzzard.
Shannon, this may be a little bit different, but what about the 7 tribes in the ITC area in Ottawa County? Now, that I don't know if they have marshals or deputies. Or
They do. One is the Quapaw Marshals. We've actually been in talks with them as well. We went ahead and crossed with Ottawa County and the city of Miami. Even though the city of Miami only has a very small, it's maybe like 2 neighborhoods that are south of the river, that's still our reservation. So those eastern tribes, anyone that borders up to our nation, we're working hard to try to get those crossed as well. Yes.
Anybody else? Yes, Counselor Shambaugh.
Hey, Marshal, just wondering, how many marshals are you going to, in the future, what's the number that you would be comfortable with as far as being able to cover your 14 counties?
I wish that was a very easy question, but it is not an easy question. One, it depends on how well our cross-deps hold up. We've always been the giver in cross-dep agreements over the years, so now we're taking a lot of this. So these cross-dep cities and counties are putting a lot on their shoulders, even as far as officer-involved shootings, as far as any what would be called a deprivation of civil liberties. Before, if an officer was involved in a shooting, their local DA would look at them. Now there's nuances that it could be a U.S. attorney look at them. So they're taking on a lot of responsibility that they hadn't before. So this number, I wish I had an exact number. You know, BIA came in and did a study about 10 years ago when I took over, before McGirt, and said that we should be at 84 officers minimum and optimum about 256. Post McGirt, if we didn't have the cross-deps, and I want to be very clear on this, if we did not have the cross-deps, in my opinion, there's no way the tribe could fund their law enforcement. They said we should be about 25% larger than Tulsa Police Department if our cross-deps don't hold. Their annual operating budget is $190 million a fiscal year for Tulsa Police Department. I don't believe that this council can give me $200 million a year for policing and not dramatically affect everything in our lives, to include my mom's treatment at Hastings Hospital and the food distribution centers and the housing that we as tribal members most definitely need. So that number is, of course, great expanse. But I believe that I could probably take a breath at 65 and be able to go, whoo. The problem is, I want to be very clear on this as well, I had a little over 340 applications for these 12 positions. I could only hire 9 of the 12. I've had to reopen those other 4 positions because it takes a lot to be a marshal, quite frankly. Knock on wood, when you become a marshal, it becomes your life. The protection of our community becomes paramount. The protection of our culture, the protection of our way of life becomes paramount. Those are not easy things to train into people. Takes the 9 that I have, they're over my office right now reading policy. My policy is 690 pages long. They will study every page of it. Those 9 will go to FLETC. 8 of the 9 will go to FLETC. One's already been a FLETC. They start in FLETC the end of July. They will graduate FLETC in Artesia, New Mexico the end of November. They will come home, and then they'll be in the FTO phase from the end of November till March. So these 9 that I have across the street won't be out in our communities doing good things until next March. That's the reality of police work in Indian country. So even if you gave me the money for 64 officers, I'd be hard pressed to find 64 officers. And Mike, you know very well that it's tough to find police officers at this day and age. Some of it, I think, is just the nature of our job and how we have to work weekends and nights and holidays and stuff like that. I think a part of it is societal issues on a national level with police work. You can ask police friends of mine 10 years ago, would you like your child to be a police officer? And a lot of them would say, yeah, it's a good job. We have good benefits. It protects our community. It's honorable. Those numbers of people that say that don't say that anymore. They say, no, I don't want my son or daughter to be a policeman. I want them to do something else because the stresses that society has put on police over the last 6 to 8 years. So, yeah, 65 would be a shot in the dark number, but I don't have a number. I'd rather have fewer really good marshals than a bunch of ones that's going to mess up and get me in front of you asking why we did what we did. So.
And one other thing, I have had, I can't tell you the number of phone calls that I've had, simply because I am a chief of police, but I'm also on the council, so they think I have a lot of answers to the things I don't. But, you know, talking to all these officers and all these chiefs and deputies, this really, for us as cops, I'll just call us cops, is nothing different than we were doing before. Because, you know, we weren't regulated to only taking care of Cherokee people. We took a call regardless of what it is. So it's really not that much different for us from what we've done in the past. But that being said, do you think that there will ever be a time, because the landscape has changed, you know, 180'd, I guess you could say, will there be a time where the Cherokee Nation Marshals step up as the main, I guess, entity that has the authority to do whatever needs to be done in the Cherokee Nation? I mean, I know you have to rely on other agencies to help. There's just no way to keep people safe. There's no way to keep your people safe, the cops, the EMS, the first responders. I mean, you guys can't do it by yourself. You've never been able to do it by yourself. And I don't think anybody can do it by themselves. But is there a plan in place where at some point in time that the Cherokee Nation Marshals will be the lead agency on Indian land as it pertains to Indian people?
We've actually started that already. The 2 homicides in Stillwell and the aggravated assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. It happened, all 3 happened in Stillwell City. So Stillwell PD is cross with us and has been for 20 years, I guess. FBI has jurisdiction there, but the suspects and the victims are native. So we, the Cherokee Nation, also have jurisdiction. So I could have easily, Monday afternoon, went, let Stillwell PD handle this homicide. It is our people that are affected by these things. Any time that we can put a hand on these cases, we will put a hand on these cases. So I sent my team over there, and they worked the homicide scenes and the aggravated assault scenes along with Stillwell, Adair County, and the FBI. We are taking an active part in the ones that we can take a hold of. You know, can I take a hold of a traffic stop or something like that, or a simple fight in a neighborhood? I don't think I can go there with the amount of people, but if there's a major crime that I believe that we can help and take that over to kind of give some breathing room to those cross-deput agencies that we have, then we're definitely going to move heaven and earth to take those cases over and present those in either tribal or federal court.
So do you ever think that you'll have enough deputies to actually, I guess, have enough people to on patrol to patrol enough of the counties and the cities that if something happens, you would be the first ones? And I mean, are we ever going to be at that capacity?
That would be my hope, but the funding that it would take has to be DOI money, has to be Department of Interior money. The tribe doesn't have that kind of money. That's, like I said before, that's $200 million a fiscal year type of program. You know, I would like to get enough officers on board that I can split my agency into two and have a captain and an office north of 412 to specialize in that federal district, and then have the office that we have here to specialize in the Eastern Federal District. That number in my mind is 65, 68 officers. I can split that and have 30 or 32 here, 30 or 32 up there, and that helps. But the numbers to be able to come to you and say I'm confident that I can take any case in any region of the Cherokee Nation, I go back to that $200 million a fiscal year, and I will never come to this body and ask for anything like that. That is a congressional fix, in my opinion. Congress has to look at these McGirt-affected tribes, us, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole. They have to look at this. We are a oddity in Indian country. If you look at reservations anywhere else, you can't find cities of Tulsa in those reservations. You can't find Broken Arrows or Pryor's or Tahlequah's or Stillwell's or Groves. You can't find those in other reservations. So we're different than any other reservation, in my opinion, in the country because of this, just population alone, infrastructure alone. Those are astounding numbers that, in my opinion, I don't care how wealthy a tribe is or unwealthy the tribe is, they don't have the resources capable to do that level of care without federal monies coming in. I know that's sometimes a scary thought to say we need more federal funding, but it's not coming from anywhere else. Police officers are expensive. Their stuff that they do is extremely expensive. When you start getting the numbers that it would take to do what you're asking, it is in the market of $200 million a year. And there's no way the tribe can support that, and there's no way I would expect the tribe to support it. That's why I'm so motivated, and I go around daily to agencies that we're cross with. I'm on the phone constantly, daily, with cross-dept agencies. I was at Muskogee Police Department with Chief Teehee yesterday before lunch. We have to keep these relationships good and intact because it can't be understated how important we need those cross-depts. Because if you came to me and said, hey, I'm going to give you the money for 40 more hires, I'm 4 months into trying to hire 12, and I can't find 12. I found 9. So it's a large process that we're having to work through. So.
All right, thanks, sir.
Good. Anybody else? Okay, Marshal. Yeah, EO, got a question?
I had a call the other day, and I know the answer, I think, but we're not interested in doing any reserve officer training. I mean, volunteers, are we?
No.
I mean, that's nowhere in the program?
No.
Okay, because I had a guy call, and he said he heard that we were doing that.
No, we're not. We have 4 reserves. They're actually employees for C&E, and they do their white-collar crime investigation in the casinos. We made them reserves so they could do some things that a normal security officer couldn't do. But that's a very specific job set for those officers in the casino. But normal reserves, we won't be doing those.
Are you good? Okay. All right, good report. Appreciate you. Keep up the good work. Okay, next, Office of the Attorney General, Sarah Hill. I know this lady's been busy.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon. Just wanted to give you all a relatively quick update on what's been going on since my last report. First of all, I wanted to update you on the court of, all of these things will be McGirt related because that's the nature of the work that we're doing now. An update on the Court of Criminal Appeals. So since our last meeting, the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals has decided a number of additional cases involving the Cherokee Reservation. Spears, McDaniel, Castro Huerta, Cole, and Shriver. One of the two Shriver cases have all been decided. Most of those were decided this morning, as a matter of fact. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals found in every single case that the Cherokee Reservation was established and had never been disestablished, which was what we expect, get the same decision from the Court of Criminal Appeals. But there are a number of these remand cases that are going to have to be decided. I expect that Spears, McDaniel, Castro Huerta, and Cole will proceed in the federal courts, and I expect that Shriver will proceed in the tribal court. So that's just a quick update on some of these remand cases. These are the cases that went from the district court and were then kicked back up to the Court of Criminal Appeals to make decisions about the reservation post-McGirt. So we followed all of these cases, and they're continuing to come in, and there are a few more that will come in from the Court of Criminal Appeals. But it was none of the decisions were particularly different than the ones we had already received. Next, I'd like to update you a little bit on tribal court cases and processes. When I was here for my last report, we had filed just over 375 cases. Today, that number exceeds 660 cases. So from the beginning of the year, from January of this year to my rules report last month, which was on the 25th, we had 375. From the 25th of March to the 29th of April, we now have 660. So that's not quite a mathematical doubling of the total number of cases, but it's getting close. That's the level of increase that we're seeing. I expect that it will continue at that rate. We've also received 67 referrals for juvenile offenders since the beginning of the year. We're in the process of transferring all of our cases from our current, because previously we'd used a paper file system, and we had a case management system that wasn't really well suited to the kind of prosecution that the AG's office is responsible for now. So we've been transferring cases over into PBK, which is the system that Tulsa and Oklahoma County use. It will be a paperless system, but of course it's a lot of front-end investment in trying to get those cases transferred from paper files into our new filing system. We've got people working weekends and doing overtime to try to get those cases in the system. Once we get it set up, I'm confident that we'll be very happy that we did it, but it's a little bit of extra work for us right now to try to keep up to speed technologically. The nation had a jury docket last week, so we had 6 juvenile, it was all juvenile, not criminal. We had 6 juvenile deprived cases set for jury trial, and one of those was actually tried to a jury. The other cases were resolved in other ways, which is very typical in any jury setting. But I wanted to call some special attention to the work of our Chief Juvenile Prosecutor, Nikki Livemore, and her paralegal, Danita Cox, who had to prep and be ready to try all of those. You know, you always pretend when you go in there that all 7 of those cases are going to go, which means that you've got to have every single exhibit ready and every sticker and every opening and closing statement has to be prepared. It's an incredible amount of work when you have a jury trial. So I wanted to be sure and call out the hard work that I know went into preparing for jury trials that week. We'll have jury trials again in July. There's an update on the criminal code provisions. You're going to see on your agenda, your rules agenda, there's going to be, again, many changes to the criminal code from the Office of the Attorney General. I appreciate the patience that you've all exhibited with these many changes, and there will be many more changes coming as we modernize and upgrade our criminal code so that it says what it needs to say so that we can prosecute. I want to especially call out the work of Peyton Qualls, who has worked tirelessly on all the criminal updates. You've seen the hundreds and hundreds of pages of criminal updates that we have put in front of you. And although I take responsibility for any errors that they may contain, I have to give all of the credit to that work to Peyton. It is very difficult to go through that, to identify the potential issues, to talk to the prosecutors, flag them, track the problems, and make sure they get corrected. So I wanted to be sure that you all were aware of what a tremendous job she had done and all of the energy she had put into that. Finally, I wanted to just take a minute to talk a little bit about intergovernmental cooperation, because I say that a lot, and I'm not always sure sometimes that I communicate very well what it looks like in a day-to-day sense at the AG's office when we're working with other agencies. I'm sure that Councilman Shambaugh probably appreciates it more since he has to live with it too. But for the rest of you, I wanted to just talk about an example. So this morning I mentioned that there are many of these remand cases handed down. So we called the FBI and called the U.S. Attorney's Office just to double check and be sure, hey, have you guys, where are you at with these cases? Have they already been filed? Do you plan to file them? And then we receive phone calls right back from the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Yes, we are working on these cases. This is the date this has been filed. This is when this case is set for jury trial. So they communicated with us. And then just minutes later, the FBI called our office and said, hey, we've been talking to the local jail. They have an individual there who is an Indian, who is a pretty bad guy. We plan to file charges against him, but we can't get those filed in time. He's going to be released before we can get that filed. What about the nation? Could you guys file charges on him? And we said, absolutely, we'll get right on it. My prosecutors got the reports from the states, drafted the information, got it filed, and made sure that that person didn't get out of jail that day. That goes on every single day, multiple times per day at the AG's office, where we have the FBI, local law enforcement, the AG's office, all of us calling one another, making sure that people who are a threat to the communities are staying in jail, making sure that we're keeping each other up to date on what's going on, talking with the Marshal Service. So, I mean, that's just a real world. I think when I say there's a lot of intergovernmental communication going on, sometimes the nuts and bolts of that, if I don't explain it, you don't know what I mean when I say that. But that kind of just daily interaction is going extremely well. I feel like we have good coordination and good conversations going on throughout the reservation, from the law enforcement agencies, from the state prosecutors, the United States, and the local ones. I am incredibly proud of all of my staff. They are probably working too hard. They are missing time with their families. They are and just really going above and beyond every single day to make sure that we are getting done the work that needs to be done at the AG's office. They make me look good, and I'm incredibly proud of the work that they're doing for the nation. And that's my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for our AG? Counselor Dobbins.
Yes, General Hill, in our trials, how are our juries selected?
So the court sends notices out to the jurors, and so that would be a good question for the court. I could answer the specifics of how they send out the jury notices, but they send out the jury notices to the individual, so that process is done on the court side.
Does the jury have to be Cherokee citizens in our court?
They do, for most trials, yes, they are Cherokee citizens. The only time non-citizens would be involved in a jury trial is if the person who is standing trial is a non-Indian, and it's in a criminal case. So if we are trying a non-Indian under our special VAWA jurisdiction, so under VAWA we can charge non-Indians who commit certain crimes on the reservation. If a non-Indian is standing trial, then non-Indians can't be excluded from the jury pool. In all other trials, it's Cherokee citizens.
Okay, thank you, General. Thank you, Speaker.
Okay, anybody else? So in our court, we can try any tribal member
Yes,
from other tribes?
yes.
Okay, all right. Counselor Lake.
So, kind of like what we asked Shannon Buell, it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger in my mind of what type of budget would y'all be comfortable with? Because if we have folks in jail that do not have bond, we're paying every day for them to be in jail. And that's just one person. And then if you get a couple of thousand across the 14 counties that are sitting in jail, and we're having to pay for that jail space, the numbers, it's going to be pretty astronomical. Is that going to be all tribal dollars that needs to go there, or are there DOI grants that we can apply for to help with any of this? I mean, I'm just trying to think out loud. It's getting bigger than what you could actually imagine from the very onset of this, how big this is going to be.
So there are a lot of, one of the things that the AG's office was able to obtain was that we got a $2 million grant from the Department of Justice to hire 4 new prosecutors who would also serve as special assistant U.S. attorneys. So, like I have been a special assistant U.S. attorney and tried cases in federal court on behalf of the United States while still being an employee of the tribe and able to try cases in the local tribal court. And so they've provided funding for us to hire 4 new prosecutors who would wear both of those hats and who could prosecute in both of those. So that's one source of funding. On the jail side, I think that there's several different, like the Department of the Interior has some funding available. The Department of Justice is going to have probably a much more limited amount of funding available. But all of these programs are available typically to all of the tribes, and they compete against one another for funding. So to take a situation like the one that we are facing in eastern Oklahoma, where we have this great expansion of tribal authority, I think that there are probably reasons why Congress would want to look at a special appropriation that would cover those expenditures that we're making. So there's going to have to be some new models created to deal with this issue.
Anybody else? Yes, Counselor Shambaugh.
Just real quick, we had a problem. We had our first, I guess you'd hog number guard arrest, whatever you want to call it. And we started contacting jails who had, to compact to hold those prisoners. And we were turned down 3 times because that arrest wasn't made in that county. We finally got Adair County to take it. But we were turned down by 3 because that did not happen in their county. I don't know if you're aware of that, but we can talk about it afterwards if you want to know more specifics who they were. But, I know that we are paying a bit of money, and from what I've been told, it's probably higher than the state paid for our compacts with these jails. It's a little higher. So if those are some of the rules that some of the jails have, I don't know if you were aware of that or not, but finally Delaware County now has been approved to hold those prisoners. So, but there's still some confusion about everything that's going on with the local agencies and things. They just don't know. There's too many questions, and I hope you guys, pretty quick, you need to have some meetings in these counties and get all law enforcement together so everybody can get on the same page, because I promise you there are so many different thoughts on what is going on that's not right. Even involving the Curtis Act and things like that. I mean, they're not getting what's going on. And I hope that you can call those meetings, because I know in Delaware County we were going to have the one. Well, there was close to 50 people that wanted to show up. We just couldn't accommodate that many people. So that's how important it is, though, and that's how many questions that are still out there. It's not as smooth as you think, because all these small agencies, they're not, we're not being told the same thing, and we all just need to meet and hash those things out. But I just thought I'd let you know that.
No, I appreciate that, Councilman, and I certainly do not mean to sit here and tell you that everything is operating, this is just a total symphony of intergovernmental cooperation. That is not the case. We are working well together, and it is getting better. I definitely appreciate you bringing this issue about the jail to my attention, because I was not aware of that. And we have had a lot of confusion at different times between the jails about, well, do we have a contract with them? What does the contract require? And so there's just a lot of different questions like that have arisen. So I would like to talk to you a little bit about that. And the Marshal Service tends to be more plugged into those issues than I am, but I definitely would like to talk to you about that. I also take to heart your point about needing to have additional meetings, and certainly we have been working on putting together a meeting in Delaware County at the Grove Convention Center to accommodate the larger number of people that we think would want to attend such a intergovernmental meeting. And I know there are a lot of questions, and sometimes there are questions about things like the Curtis Act that I feel confident I know the answers to, and then there are questions that are really logistical questions, right? Which I think the local law enforcement really struggle with, more the logistical issues of, okay, now we have a new process. Is everyone communicating what that new process is? And there's still a lot of communication gaps that I know need to be made up. So I certainly don't want you to take my comments to mean that everything is going smoothly and there are no issues. There are daily issues, but it is getting better. And I think the communication, at least, and again, I'm a prosecutor, so the part of it that I deal with, I feel like we are communicating better than we were. But there are certainly still a lot of issues that we're going to have to address, and a lot of just communication and logistical issues that we have to work out.
Yeah, I know what you're facing. I really do, and I feel for you, because it's daunting, and especially all of a sudden, it hadn't been all of a sudden, but when reality sets in, I don't care what you've prepared for. I mean, there's always things that you haven't. And that's just the way, the nature of the business and the law changing and different things. And when you're dealing with so many different entities, I mean, that's difficult too, just getting, your tickets set up, your probable causes set up, all of those things, and how they're delivered. If we arrest somebody, do we have to have a probable cause to jail? Do we want you to fax? I mean, there's all those things that have been asked that, and it seems like little things, but to the law enforcement, that's kind of a big thing from how they've always been done. But I know you guys you're I guess maxed out, because I know you're getting dumped on. I know you are, because I've seen some of the cases that are coming down to you, and it's difficult. But I'm just relaying what a lot of the agencies are asking me, and I don't, especially the Curtis Act stuff. Of course, said no, that's not right. But they would rather hear it from you. Even the DAs, have their own take on what's going on, and it's not necessarily the same as ours. So that's another thing with the jails. The DAs are giving the jails on advice on how to handle this. And that's where it came from. Out-of-county people don't do the out-of-county people, because just do the in-county. So there's just some things like that obviously it's going to happen. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and I think you guys are doing a good job. It's just daunting. I know it is. So, gosh, you got my sympathies for sure.
Well, they always say no battle plan survives first contact with the enemy. That's
Tough.
a quote I've thought about quite a bit in the last few months. We have a plan. Sometimes we have to stop and rethink and amend the plan to be sure that we're capturing the real needs and the real issues that are, and, like this exact month, as I sat down and looked and realized we'd nearly doubled the entire year's cases in 1 month, I surprised myself, despite the fact that we've been the ones filing these cases, by how many more those are. So we're just going to have to adapt on a lot of it, and it certainly is challenging. And I appreciate the council's continued patience with us as we react to a situation that we cannot always predict. We can really only do the best we can with what we've got.
Yep. Thank you, ma'am.
Are you good? Okay. All right. Good report. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Gwen Terrapin. Makes it easier when they can be here in person, doesn't it? Yeah.
Good afternoon. It's good to see everyone in person finally. When I sent the report out, there were only 10 FOIA requests, but we had a new one come in. So now we have 11. We've got 2 outstanding, and the website's been updated, and you guys should have a copy of everything.
Okay, you have your report. Okay. Good report, Gwen. Election Commission, Sharon Swepson. Election Commission, Marcus Fears. Sorry about that. I need my glasses, don't I?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hello. It's good to see you guys in person. I see a lot of you guys, and then quite a bit, and then the other I haven't seen in quite some time, so it's good to see you guys. 75,543 total registered voters as of the 8th of April. That's 43,469 in district, 32,074 at large. In March, we processed 4,264 total applications. That was 2,475 voter registrations, 1,789 absentee requests. What's not on your report in front of you is we processed an additional 5,044 absentee requests in April, from the 1st of April to the 16th of April. So I wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to the election commissioners, staff, all that helped verify and get all that data entry in. It was a lot of hours and a lot of work, and we got them in there. And that's my report, and I'll be here to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Fears? Yes, Councilor Nofire.
Hey, Marcus. I noticed this on the, I guess, new registration forms. you had all the precincts and stuff where you want to mark out of if you're a new registered voter. You get to pick the precincts you vote out of in your district. The form listed, I know in one precinct, or one district, that there was 2 precincts, and then, of course, whenever the announcements of the precincts had changed, I think that they've changed on the actual voter's registration card.
Correct.
I think it changed from Wilma P. to Marietta in that district. I don't think there's any other districts that changed precincts.
We had a
other than that
couple.
one.
Yeah, we had a couple.
You had a couple changes?
Yeah.
I know that you're trying to inform everybody. I thought maybe, I don't know if the commission's already looked at putting up some sort of redirectional, placement of a sign during the election day, because a lot of people, they're used to going to Wilma P to vote, but maybe if there's a sign there stating where that precinct moved to, just in case you get citizens that didn't get their card or may not know where to vote, so that way there's plenty of awareness of where they're getting directed to go vote.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I can definitely take that back.
Okay, yeah,
Absolutely.
take that back to them, so that way we just make it easier for everyone to know where they're supposed to, the polling locations. So, all right, appreciate you.
Good. Yes, Counsel Crittenden.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Counselor Shambaugh.
I spoke to several people, and I know we had a problem that we spent 2.5 hours trying to fax things to you guys, and it never went through. 2.5 hours. And, you know, you work up until that very point trying to get that last one, and you get it, and then you lose 20. I've talked to several people who said they've tried to fax things, and they cannot get through to you guys in the last several hours. I mean, that's pretty distressing whenever you've worked that hard, and you've just over and over and over, and then you try to turn, 18 in, and they don't go. I mean,
Right.
do you have that big of an influx of faxes that they won't come in the last 2 hours? I mean, last year I know they said you had a problem and you let people, because there was such a big deal that you let them turn them in late because your system couldn't take it. Did it happen again? I mean, because I know that my wife came back and we tried it on my fax. I mean,
Right.
is there anything you can do to fix that, or you're going to tell me to do it earlier or what? But, when you work till the 12th hour, that's the way it goes. I mean, why is that?
Right. To answer one of your questions, yes, there is quite an influx. We are getting faxes. I think I stopped answering the emails probably around 6 or 6:30 that evening. And then from that point to midnight, I believe it was around 320 I answered the next day. And so a lot of those are faxes. So we are getting faxes. So maybe that is definitely something that we need to look into on, the best way to get those in, because we are getting an influx. We do get an influx, but we're still getting them in. None of them actually not show up. They don't ever stop, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So,
Well, I know that, it showed 11:43 was when mine sent, and then we get a text or fax, whatever you did, it's saying that they didn't show up in time. But we also email them, almost 40 minutes early too, and still they get turned away. So, we tried to email and fax and still couldn't get through. So, you're talking over 20-some votes. And I know some of those people asked to be absentee because they would not be present on that day.
yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if those people can early vote or whatever, but, potentially they're not going to get to vote. So there needs to be something looked at if there is an influx of people who are trying to get those votes in and they're denied, I don't think that's right. I just don't.
Yeah, I definitely take that back to the commission. Definitely look into that further. If they are registered voters, they absolutely can vote early at our election commission office for early voting. Do that on May the 29th and June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So those are options that are available.
Well, I understand that,
Yeah.
but again, they're asking for absentees because they can't go.
Correct.
And now they're
Right.
having to go again, so, It's just difficult to stomach a little bit for me.
Right. I totally understand, and we'll definitely look into that.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, good report, Mr. Fierce. Keep up the work.
Thank you.
Okay, now, Tax Commission, Sharon Swepson. You can depend on Sharon to be here. Did you know that?
Afternoon. It's good to see everyone again.
It is.
I believe you all have my report, and I'll try to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? Yes, Counselor Buzzard.
Sharon, I was just looking at your report, and I get, this is probably a good thing, but I see the tax collection on tobacco is like 50% down.
Yes,
Have we analyzed why it's like that, or are we just thinking it's because people quit smoking?
a lot of it is because some people are not smoking any longer and stuff. Sales have just gone down with them. There's a lot more competition is what I'm hearing from our smoke shops with the state license shops. In fact, I had one yesterday call me and tell me that there was a state license shop that was matching the prices and stuff. So there's a lot of different things I think that are causing that. It's not just one thing.
Okay, I thought, this is a big shift, which is good if people have quit smoking, but I didn't know if there's any fraud going around, that somebody was black marketing that amount of cigarettes or not. But anyway, it sounds like you've already checked it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Hey, I have one. A lady had an accident, tribal member in Oklahoma City, did not have her registration form in her glove compartment.
It's okay.
And they tried to call our office, and she said our office would not send a copy to them. Is that a normal practice? First of all, she was in the wrong. She didn't have her registration form with her. Okay, but she said they did not get cooperation from her. She said, how come the tribe will not work with the state? I said, we work with the state very well. I said, I think you turned that around. The state doesn't work well with us. We've tried to be nice to this tribal member governor. He doesn't seem to want to, be one of us. We can't figure that out. But anyway, that was her gripe.
If they just call and request it, we won't send it to them because we can't verify who they are and everything. But if there's a form that they have to do to request it, or they can come into the office and we will get that. I think they just charge them $1. But we have to either mail it to them or they have to come and pick it up.
Okay. So she didn't have it with her. And do we, say that again, I was interrupted.
Okay, so they can go by any office and we would verify that they are the person that has that vehicle, and then we could give them one. I think they charge them $1 for it.
Okay.
Or they can request it and they can email the request and then we'll mail the form back to them.
Okay.
So-
She said she was in Oklahoma City and we would not fax it to them, and she needed it then and there.
Right then.
But she should have had it in her glove compartment.
Yes.
So,
And I will have to check on that situation to see, because if a police department or something like that calls, then normally we get them whatever that they require. I mean, we, of course, ask for certain documents from them, but we will work with the police departments and things, so.
okay, good. Counselor Shaw, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Sharon, can you tell tribal IDs will work in place of a real ID?
I didn't quite.
Repeat the question. We didn't hear that.
Can you please tell me if our Cherokee tribal ID will work in place of a real ID?
Will our Cherokee ID work in place of a real ID? It probably depends on the circumstance. If you're traveling, like, I think it might. What's the answer, Todd?
So there is a provision for traveling under TSA guidelines, but for compliance with Real ID, it is not eligible for that because we don't have an expiration date on ours. And so if we want to be compliant. There's a couple other things we'd have to do, but one of those, the primary thing we'd have to do is every ID would expire at some point in time, much like your state driver's license would be. So those are one of the things, there's some of the things that we're looking at to see if we can be compliant with that, but I don't know if you guys saw, but they just extended it again another 2 years. So we're taking a look at that and see if there's anything that we can do. But for traveling through TSA, there is a Section 8 waiver that our tribal ID is recognized and accepted by TSA in replacement of a state-issued driver's license. Hopefully, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. And I'd like to thank Sharon for helping me. I recently bought a car out of state, and she actually worked with a car dealership to make sure I will get a Cherokee tag. Thank you, Sharon.
You're very welcome, not a problem.
Anybody else? Good report, Sharon. Appreciate you. Okay, next we have, self-governance report. Ashley Fox, first time. Ashley, good to have you here.
Good to be here. I think you all have my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for our self-governance lady? Take it easy on her. It's the first time. She can handle it. I mean, the word is out. She's a blue chipper. Okay, so you kind of just got over everybody. They don't have no questions for you. So good report. Yeah, Counselor Duncan.
Hey, Ashley, I just wanted to say I heard from a little bird that you aced your LSAT, and I just wanted to say congratulations.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
There you go. Good. All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, we'll kind of load up for next month. Okay, Gaming Commission, Janice Purcell.
And sending reopening letters to NIGC since the West Alum Springs smoke shop and poker areas have been closed in excess of 180 days. They have to send a reopening letter to NIGC. And additionally, Roland Travel Plaza is reopening on May 1st. Tentatively, Catoosa will open, Catoosa Travel, which all of these contain e-games, will open May 27th. So we have been working on that, getting the documentation together, and so that is in addition to my report.
Okay. I see no questions. Will they have the OIGA conference this year?
On the conferences, a lot of them are going virtual, but ACRA and NIGA tentatively are in the fall, and NIGA is in July. So that's more of a wait and see for each organization.
Okay.
NIGC has also been offering virtual academies, and the staff attended one of those last week. It was an audit boot camp. So they have provided very good information to us, and we really appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that report, Janice.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate you. Have a good day.
You too.
Next, Human Resources, Atlanta Castile. Atlanta, how long have you been with us now?
43 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
43 years.
Gonna retire in a couple of years, maybe.
No, we can't let you retire. You're just now
Maybe.
learning the way.
Well, it's so good to see all of you all.
Yes, it is. Any questions for our Human Resources Director? We just appreciate all that you do. And thank you
We
for...
have been busy.
Yes, thank you for taking care of some of those requests I presented to you.
Well, you're welcome.
Anybody
anytime.
else? How many employees do we have now? I should have looked at my report and I haven't.
4,000, let me see.
4160?
4,160.
Wow.
And that was as of the end of March.
How many did we have when we were at Wiley Hall, Atlanta, you remember?
How many, when I started working for Cherokee Nation, all of our employee files was in a 2-drawer file cabinet. Yeah, now we have those big rolling ones.
Yeah, some of these people don't remember, but we rented part of Northeastern when our first complex
were.
there, before this was ever built.
We
So,
were.
We won't get into history yet, so, all
Yeah,
right.
when I first started, they were just finishing up the complex, this
When-
building.
When we first started, DJ McCarter had black hair.
I know, he did. So did I.
Yes. Okay, thank you for that report, Lana.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, if somebody would make a motion to amend, we would move the last item to the front so DJ could address it and we could move on. Thank you. Counselor Duncan, second by co-speaker, Counselor Vasquez. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Okay, let's go to item number 15. That's me. Counselor Duncan, you want to take that? DJ, you want to come to the podium?
This
And, Gail has a recording on how this word is said. You want to play the recording first, or you want to have him give his talk first?
Just go ahead and play the recording first.
Okay?
Make sure I get the right one, we don't be saying bad words.
We don't want, Gail, be bad to be playing Brooks and Dunn here, and we want to.
Okay, let me start it over. Okay. Let me start, well, good too.
The word T, that means medicine place with the E at the end of it. Now word T makes it a place.
Okay, everybody hear that? Did you hear that, Counselor Crittenden?
Yeah.
Okay, the word is, Nawati means medicine, and if you add Nawati, it means medicine place. So it'll be an easy word for our people to say. So, DJ, tell them about our meeting here.
Okay, we met the other day and thrown some names about the place called the Clinic. And we came to the conclusion that no more tea, the place of medicine for that clinic. And so this is what I'm reporting on today, and with prayer and a couple of songs sung, and we tossed it around a little bit, and we all came to the conclusion that this would be the best name for the clinic. And so, any questions?
Any questions? Yes, Counselor Crittenden.
Would like to be added as a sponsor?
Okay. Yeah, we had Dennis, we had Crawler, David Crawler, we had Anna. We didn't have Anna, we had
Boney?
Who was it? Had Roy Boney here, and had Dennis Sixkiller here.
Yeah.
So we talked about it and had DJ bless it, and so now we'll get with a contractor that does signage and see what kind of sign they can come up with, just give us some options. They'll come back through the council for us to decide what signage that we prefer. So, any questions, and we'll move on. Yes, Councilor Vasquez.
Mr. Speaker, there's just some spelling issues with these three acts and the namings. If you would look in Section 5, number 1, the word building is misspelled, and the word Cherokee Nation are misspelled. And I believe that paragraph is so similar in all three acts that it's the same mistake in each one. So if we need to just make a note
Okay,
of
Shelley,
that.
you want to take care of that? Okay, thank you for that correction.
Sure.
Okay. All right, yes, Councilor Austin.
Councilor Vasquez, you said building and Cherokee, correct? Okay, both Cherokee and Nation. I just didn't catch that part. Okay. That's all. I just want to make sure we were catching that one too.
Okay. All right, need a motion. Got a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed?
Hey,
All
could
right.
I say something?
Sure, he won't.
You know, you were talking about all the problems that our law enforcement agencies are having, not only here, but throughout the world. And I touched on this Sunday morning. Growing up, at home, we were taught ethics. At school, we were taught ethics. And just to give you an example, Bill John Baker's grandma was my teacher. And she would always tell us, boys, you need to walk, when you're walking a girl down the street, she needs to walk against the building, you need to walk on the outside. And of course, we had to ask why. Well, in case a car gets off the street and comes on to where you're walking, of course, that would be, I'd be the first guy to get hit. We didn't like that. But my mom always used to say, now, boys, when you go out, don't embarrass us. And we have a paper, the Phoenix. We have a great school here. And I think if our papers, and just my opinion, it won't get you a cup of coffee nowhere. But if we were to just put down, respect the law, obey the law, and if you break the law and you're pulled over, please obey the commands of the officer. And a lot of this stuff that we see on television, if they had done that, they'd be alive today. But I really believe we need to start teaching this back in our schools, mainly at home. And I don't know, I'm just throwing this out as a suggestion, okay? And if we could put that in our Phoenix, maybe a little block, and see what would happen. And I know it's too late for me and you, but the little ones coming up, that's who are impacted most. And folk, it's going to get worse. It's not going to get any better, okay? They need to know this. Thank you.
Well, though, DJ. Okay, we'll drop down to item number 1 now. Counselor EO, would you take that?
Yes, this is a resolution confirming the nomination of Suzanne Sullivan as a board member of the Economic Development Trust Authority Board of Directors. I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Number 2, Counselor Buzzer, would you take that?
A resolution confirming the nomination of Wilford W.C. Gernot III as a governing board member of the Cherokee Nation Comprehensive Care Agency, PACE. Put that in the form of a motion.
Got a motion and a second to WC. He does an outstanding job. Any questions? Yes, I would too. Okay. Joe Deere? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? WC does a good job. He's not here, is he? Okay. All right, dropping down to number 3, Counselor Austin, you want to take that?
This is a resolution confirming the nomination of Elmer Tadpole as governing board member of Cherokee Nation Comprehensive Care Agency. I put that in the form of a motion.
Got a motion and a second by Janice Taylor. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Okay. Number 4, Counselor Austin, you want to take that again?
Sure. This is a resolution renewing the charter of the
the
Cherokee Immersion School and approving the contract with the Cherokee Immersion School Board. I put that in the form of a motion.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. All right, he's got a motion there. Need a second. Zunadesquasti just means school. That's a, well, if you could say Zunadesquasti, they gave you an A. All right, got a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Counselor Shambaugh, would you take number 5?
This is a resolution confirming the nomination of Russell Feeling as a governing board member of the Junadale-Squassy
Yes.
Cherokee Immersion School Board, and I put that in the form of a motion.
You did good. Piece of cake.
It's tough.
Yes. All in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. Is Russell here? He was? Okay. All right. He's good. All right. Number 6. Canaan, take that and show us how you say that word.
A resolution confirming the nomination of Rufus King as a governing board member of Junadale-Quasti Cherokee Immersion School Board, and I put that in form of a motion.
Motion? Okay. Then a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Okay. Number 7, Counselor Deere.
This is an act amending Title 10A of the Cherokee Nation Code, annotated and declaring an emergency. Put that in the form of a motion.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Okay. Number 8, Counselor Jordan, you want to take that?
Yes. This is an act amending Title 21 of the Cherokee Nation Code, annotated and declaring an emergency. I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Okay. Number 9, Counselor Taylor, you want to take that?
This is an act amending Title 20, did you say number 9?
21 now.
21 of the Cherokee Nation Code, annotated and declaring an emergency. I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion and a second. Discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Okay, Counselor Vasquez, you want number 10?
This is an act amending Title 22 of the Cherokee Nation Code, annotated and declaring an emergency. Move for its approval.
Motion and second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Counselor Critton, you want to take the next one? We're on 11 now. Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Okay, all opposed. Council number 12. Counselor Legg, you want to take that?
Boy, I'm glad you gave me this one. Gonna make me look smart. Yeah. Act relating to the naming of Bonnie Kirk Village, and I put that in form of motion.
Got a motion and a second. Good one. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed. Okay, number 13. Who's going to take that, Crittenden or Duncan?
Hey now. I was gonna have Gail come out and play that little tape.
All right.
Do it, Kano.
One of you lead it.
This is an act relating to the naming of Chitale Gadu, huh? And I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Chitale, that's a good one. All right, 14. We done 14. Got to do 15. Okay. Counselor No Fire, you want to take that?
This is an act establishing the Cherokee Nation Tribal Youth Council Act. I put that in a form of a motion, and I'd like to be added as a sponsor.
Okay. Got a second by Counselor Vasquez. Any discussion? Yes, Counselor Austin.
This asked for, I'm totally in support of the concept of this, by the way. But it asked for us to declare an emergency to fund them with $100 a month stipend, but we don't have a budget for that. This has not been budgeted.
Right?
I would suggest that we amend this to start at the coming budget year, because we have not budgeted for this. We don't have a budget anywhere for this.
Or we just do a budget mod because they're already beginning their work.
They've been doing the work all along,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
but
So
we're
if we,
passing something without a budget attached to it.
yeah,
Can we do that?
after we passed the budget, if you remember, we passed the annual budget, then the following month, we usually have a budget mod.
Right. This is asking us to spend money before we've created a budget mod for it, though.
Yeah, but we won't spend any money until we get the budget mod.
Just creating the act to do it.
Yeah,
Declares an emergency. Immediate emergency. That's my issue. That's my only issue. So I want to make sure that we are getting things in the right order. That's all.
we just legislate and we appropriate and we let them handle how they'll find the money.
I think they'll be able to find $100.
I think they'll be able to find $31,000. And if we're out of compliance, then Jody will tell us. Okay.
Can we
Yes.
get an opinion on that before we pass something that I can?
That's the only thing I was going to ask, if it, since it was a new thing, it doesn't need to come through a regular appropriations process or a budget.
Counselor Taylor, you have I talked to Jody about this. Teddy, would you get Jody? I don't know if our attorney's here.
You know, other acts that we've passed has had monetarily budgeted items in there, but was coming through rules. It didn't go through E&F, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll do it right.
Thank you.
Speaker, if you don't mind while we're waiting, I think this also brings up a good question to look at for the next annual budget, to start appropriating a little bit more fund. I don't remember the last time that we've increased their budget overall. Because don't they spend money out of their account? They have an account for it each year.
The Tribal Youth Council?
Yeah.
I think in years past, we just gave them a reimbursement on
Right.
fuel, is all we ever did.
Right.
I don't think we ever gave them
I
a
didn't know if they had
stipend.
a budget for their organization, though, to be able to utilize for trial.
I'm sure they do, but I don't know what it is. Jody, what's the best way to handle this?
I had informed the controller, Jamie Cole, about this resolution, and that if it passes, they'll need to be prepared to do a budget mod. So, of course, we're halfway through the year, so it's going to be $10,000-15,000 at the most. So, I mean, that'll be easy to.
I'm just trying to keep us in compliance. Will that work?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we'll be fine.
Okay, all right. That's why we have you here. Jody's a CPA, only two of what we have here at Cherokee Nation, correct?
That's can't pass again, so CPA.
Okay, yeah, Counselor Duncan. Okay. Yes, Counselor Austin.
I do want to be added as a sponsor, but I do want to suggest a change.
Okay.
On Section 8, where it says effective date, emergency declared, it says it being immediately necessary for the welfare of the Cherokee Nation, the council hereby declares an emergency exists by reason whereof this act shall take effect and be in full force after its passage and approval upon a budget mod being approved.
That would be a good change. So.
Okay. All right, you got that, Shelley? Well, it's good to have Shelley around. All right, did we vote on that? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, unanimous, Shelley. Thank you very much. I think that'll work out well. We have a lot of young youth council there. In 10 years, they'll be sitting in our seats, and this is a good incentive for them. Okay, is that all the business items? All right, that takes care of all the business items. I appreciate you guys. Now I need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Well done.